Well, hey, it's good to be back and seeing you
Oh, I
again.
know.
You have a good Thanksgiving?
I had a great Thanksgiving.
What'd you do?
I'm still eating Thanksgiving
You
food.
still eating it?
Yeah, a couple days later.
Well, hey, that's the best part about
That is the
Thanksgiving.
best part is the
Leftovers, right?
leftovers. And, well, actually, the family.
That is
Yeah.
that's the real best part.
My
Is the
wife,
time.
all her family came over.
Yeah.
We had a house full. It's the first time we've hosted
And you
Thanksgiving.
hosted.
Yes.
Jared hosted his first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Round of applause for
Thank you,
Jared. And
thank you.
Connor did his as well.
Yeah.
Off the camera, Connor over there. He got
Yeah.
to do his.
And I cooked like half the stuff on my grill. I
Nice.
baked pies on the grill.
You did the pies on the
on the
grill?
grill, yeah. You get one of those pellet grills. You can do about anything with that. It's like
So
having an extra
what
oven.
pies did you do on there?
I made an apple and a pumpkin.
Ooh, how was the pumpkin on a grill?
I may have got it a little bit too crispy. I'm still figuring it out. But I was doing
But
100
the apple
other
pie
things
was
at
good.
once. Oh, so good.
So good.
So good.
Now you're making me hungry again for
I
some
know,
more.
right? Good thing I still got leftovers in the fridge when I get home.
And I finished my 75 hard carnivore diet, so I
Right
finally
before?
literally a few days before, so I got to enjoy everything on
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Good.
It was delicious. My stomach hurt the next day, but it was all worth
Yeah,
it.
you hadn't had food like that in a minute.
Not that many carbs, but it was worth it. So
I'd say mine was just fine.
yeah.
It's used to
So
that.
I think that thing was built for the seasons.
I have started working out though.
You're looking better,
Yeah,
man.
I've
I'm
been
proud
doing
of
my
you.
push-ups and sit-ups and a few other things. I got some 20s. I just
There you
lift
go.
those 20s.
45, 46.
Well, you'll get you'll get the 30s, you'll get
Yeah,
there soon.
eventually.
We'll get them built up. Well, I don't know if you all can tell that we're decked out in some new apparel.
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
my Rebel Farmers. shirt
Rebel
on.
Farmers, Granny's latest shirt she came out with. This is, a lot of people don't realize, or they may not realize yet, but this is paying homage to our founding fathers.
Yeah,
They-
since 1776.
That America has been rebel farmers since 1776 because I can't remember if the number, what it was. They said like 30 some of the 52
The signers.
signers of the Declaration of Independence were farmers.
Yeah.
And they were the ultimate rebellions back then.
Yeah.
They broke away from the tyranny that was Great Britain, and we've been rebel farmers ever since. And that was paying homage to Granny's viral video where she said we've been rebel farmers for a
Yeah,
long time.
She rips the paper in half.
Yeah.
We've always been rebels.
And as we talk about all the time, we're rebels in today's society
We try
because
to be.
we are, number one, we're traditional white men talking about God on the internet. And that is very rebellious these days of us.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, you're supposed to be talking about something else, not God.
Yeah, and people normally wouldn't associate rebels and Christians together, but right now, more than ever, Christians are rebels.
Yeah, especially being an outspoken Christian is being a rebel today.
Yes, exactly. And people always talked about beforehand, like we used to be kind of quiet about a lot of our stuff because people felt
Yeah.
we felt like, oh, we couldn't do that. Now we're like, no, gloves are off.
Yeah. What's those two things you're not supposed to talk about?
Politics and religion.
And what do we talk about all the time?
Religion.
And
Well, we don't ever get into policy, so I don't feel like we're like truly into politics.
I don't know.
but-
We kind of do. We're talking about Longhorns and building fences.
But that's an actual issue we have, man.
It is. It's a farm issue and it's an American issue. that
It is
we
an
all have to
American
deal
issue.
with.
Well, it's also an issue globally.
Yeah.
But we just had to call out, these hats aren't we just have them. We just like
Yeah.
them. We
What
want
do
them to
you think
check out
about
little
it?
farm hats. Let us know. I got the hoodie on. My favorite hoodie I think we've ever had is
Yeah,
little
so
Bar X
soft.
Rebel. And then I guess I don't know how I'll turn around here and show the back.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. You got the flag with the bar X.
Yeah.
And then should I show my back too?
Well, yeah. So Jarrett's Rebel Farmer shirt's got, I don't know if we can see him, but it's one of my favorite quotes. We've used this in the end of a video. Say, when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty, by one Thomas Jefferson. And speaking of the founding fathers, so we wanted to pay homage this week about what it means to be the rebels that we're always talking about. And the rebels, that the clothes that we have now, the merch that we're showing, like
Yeah.
we're truly trying to live the message that we're sharing with the people and with the kids of the world. Like, hey, guess what? When society's telling you to be quiet, don't talk about your faith, don't talk about the values you stand for, you know what? Be a rebel.
Yeah, if everybody's heading for the cliff, be a rebel and turn around.
Exactly. and so this week we've talked about this a lot. Like, Jesus was one of the ultimate rebels in the history of the world because of the time he was going against like what was always known
The
at the time.
established religion that a lot of people called him was it a heretic?
Yeah.
A heretic, I think that's the word I'm
Right.
looking for.
That's the word.
Is that the
Heretic.
word, Connor?
I think.
because he called himself God.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so they said, "Oh, you can't do that."
that's blasphemy.
Yeah, blasphemy.
That's blasphemy. This guy's not even real. I mean, a lot of people in certain faiths still believe that Jesus was not who
They
he
think
said
he was just like a prophet or something.
Some of them don't even. Some of them just think he was just some dude.
I heard, somebody said, "Oh, he was some guy who talked a lot, and he's had the misfortune of being put on a cross."
I think I heard Ben Shapiro say something one time, and that's who you're.
That's who
That's
I'm quoting,
and I'm
yeah.
like, and it made me
Loosely
really.
quoting.
I lost. I understand. Everyone has different faiths, beliefs,
Yeah.
but this is what we believe, and Jesus is. He is God in human form.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what we believe. And if it's rebellious to say that, well, call me a rebel.
Yeah. Well, you have to offer yourself up for Christ the way he offered himself up for us.
Yep.
And that's kind of like the verse I have here today from Romans.
Romans.
It's Paul's letter to pretty much all Christians, us thousands of years later.
Paul was addressing the rebels.
Yeah, the rebels of the time and the rebels of this time today. So I'm going to go ahead and read it.
What
Chapter 12
does
here.
Paul say to us?
He says, "Don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world." That's like what we're talking about. "But let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect."
Yeah, that summarizes everything that we literally just talked about and what we're talking about in
Yeah.
our content and what we talk about in these Sunday night conversations.
Yeah, letting God transform
From you. And he's done that to us. We
Yes.
talked about that a lot. Like, God has truly transformed our lives.
Yeah.
He made us fathers. We've changed our whole perspectives on the world we want to leave here for our kids and the legacies we want to leave, like when we're no longer here. And
Yeah.
what world do we want them to grow up in and to have? And that's a huge.
What are we going to leave behind for the next generation?
And right now we've looked around like we don't like what we're seeing, so
Yep.
we need to start doing something about it. And this is one way we've started. Who knows what we'll do,
Yeah.
10 years from now. But one way to do it is not succumb to the world and the way the world tells us to be. It's what does God tell us to be.
Bring God to the world.
And I think when we do that, that's when this whole rebel approach to everything, I think it's going to be more unifying than it's going to be
Yeah.
rebelling,
Yeah. You can bring people together under God to go against the ways of the world that we're all fighting against, honestly. And some people are going along with it, but we choose to rebel against the things that the world is pushing on us.
Yeah.
And we don't want our kids to grow up in the world that, honestly, the evil one is trying to make for us.
Yeah, like the normalization of just
Stuff going on in the schools.
schools and music. It's like when you
Just
put it
cartoons and stuff these days, you can't get away from
you
it.
can't.
I've tried to find alternative things because my kid's a toddler now.
Yeah.
He's starting to watch cartoons and stuff. I don't want him to see some stuff.
Yeah.
And that they're trying to put things in front of their faces to make them believe that, oh, this is just the way things are.
It's like
That's not the way God created it.
no, sir.
So I try to find things, music, videos, movies, and stuff that go along with what I believe.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something else for your kids, that's fine. But
Yeah.
don't be surprised when their worldview's all mixed up
Exactly.
as they get older.
And we know a lot of people who's like that. That's what happened when they're children or kids. Their parents let that be, and then now their worldview is so far from reality of what what God wants us to live like.
Yeah, there is a natural way that God created everything.
Yeah.
And following his word and the laws that he laid forward, just the natural laws of the universe, honestly, and the things that he did to help us today. And all we have to do is look back, and we have to rebel against the things that are honestly evil today.
Yeah,
There's
it's
so
true.
much evil out
They've
there.
normalized evil to make evil be the norm. So now the heavenly, the spiritual approach to anything is now the rebellious
Yeah.
approach. That's why we were so big about this whole rebel thing. I like to say that we're rebels with a cause.
Yeah.
You know the old James Dean movie, Rebel Without a Cause? I
Yeah,
like to
rebels
flip it.
with a cause.
We're rebels with a cause.
Exactly.
And our cause is we're fighting for God. We're fighting for the good word. And we're fighting to leave this world a better place. Now, I want to ask you one quick question.
That's it.
If you can name a few rebels in your head besides Jesus, we already talked about Jesus, who's one big rebel you can think about in your time?
First one pops in my head. It's George Washington.
Yeah, I like that.
George Washington was rich. He could have just went along with the flow. He was a big farmer and could have just went with what the English were telling him
Yeah,
to do and just paid all the taxes and just kept his mouth zipped and went along with the flow. He decided to stand up and to risk everything that he had. He risked it all
Yeah, paid off.
He could have been a king too after
Yeah,
they won.
and he said no.
He said no.
Yeah, you should read your history on George Washington.
George Washington, yeah, he's somebody to look up to, but he's probably one of the greatest. I would say in American history, he's the greatest rebel of all time because he stood up for what he believed in. He wanted a free country.
He did,
and he wanted to break off from Britain. And I would say that's who I would go with.
I think that was one of the best rebels we've ever had.
Definitely.
I said Jesus already. I can't.
You can't top Jesus.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Number
he
one.
died for everybody.
Yeah,
George Washington he was working for America.
Exactly, and that's why I think you have Jesus, who's always it's gonna be the goat of the rebels.
He's the goat of all the rebels.
If you're Mount Rushmore of rebels, Jesus is goat on there.
He's got
his own. He's his own mound. But then you got these other tier.
Yeah.
And you said George Washington. I think of I try to think of history, but I also think of who would be somebody even in modern terms. You're a rebel. You know who I think of right away?
Who?
Ron Paul.
Ooh, yeah.
And for the longest time, people painted him as this crazy libertarian, but this dude's a doctor.
Yeah. He
And
knows what he's talking about.
He knows exactly what he's talking. He's a very well educated person, and if you really look at who he was and the policy and stuff he stood behind, I think you'd really appreciate the rebel that was Ron Paul. He's still alive. I'm talking about in past tense, but he's
not in the limelight like he used to be.
But great, he wrote a book called The Revolution. That's an awesome book about what our founding fathers believe how our country should be and how we've gone astray from there. So I really check out that book. Great book. But Ron Paul, we've used his quotes in videos before.
Yeah.
He's the man. Rand Paul's dad. And I would just highly recommend checking out. I think he's on that Mount Rushmore of rebels.
yeah.
Modern day rebel.
I thought you were going to say somebody else.
What do you think I was going to say?
Donald Trump.
If we say the T word, people get all woo. That's when the TDS, the BDS.
Yeah, BDS.
I meant the BDS. Yeah, sorry about that.
Beef derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, but today we just want to talk to y'all about what it means to be a rebel now. We've touched on it. We've touched on it before in other videos, but tonight, and it's with us wearing our new stuff here. And then Granny is definitely going to be showing you her own style of rebellion here in the next few weeks. We just want to share that with y'all and tell you why it is important to be a rebel in modern day, because being a rebel is being a fighter, a warrior for Christ.
Exactly. That's all you can do is offer yourself up for Christ.
Yep.
Be a rebel against the ways of the world.
Well, I think that nails it on the head, cuz.
That sounds good.
All right, you have a great week, everyone.
God bless.
Be a rebel.